It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we move into a Wednesday, hello, Gary.
Hi. Hello.
Did the OMB call us? Do we still have money to go on the air?
Well, we take no government money.
Oh. Well,
Here at
I
Red
would
Eye.
if they would offer it, but, I mean, I'm just talking personally. I don't think the show does. Yeah.
Well, I got my Trump check in here.
Yeah.
And I figure they're not going to charge me with payola since it's the government giving me the check. Or plugola. That would
Right,
be plugola,
yeah.
right? That'd be plugola.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah.
that'd be-
Well, I don't know. We play a lot of Trump cuts, so. Here's another classic from Donald Trump.
No, I'm going to
yeah.
I'm going to hear back. It's like management. Did you say you're taking money from?
Did
From-
you
from
actually
Trump?
admit to taking Plugola?
And it didn't go through the sales department?
Yeah.
Well, you're breaking federal law, Gary. It's like,
And also, how'd you do that? We'd like to know.
it's, it's not a lot. It's under $1 million.
Yeah, it's less than, which will get you nowhere.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Trump will give me a pardon.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Yeah.
What a day it was
Another
yesterday.
crazy day.
Well, we know now the drones
Mm-hmm.
were all FAA approved. Why didn't she give more information on it?
Okay.
That's the first thing I thought.
There's something that we're not the conspiracy. We really aren't that show. We're not.
No.
But the way it fell out, because they were delivering Trump's dictation, basically. And that's not usually the way it's handled, but it's Trump, right? I mean, you can excuse away all of the questions about it, except for the fact that there were a number of things that were in play during that whole time. We know why the Biden administration didn't know what was going on, because Biden didn't know what was going on. That started at the top. Trump comes in and says, all right, it's not the enemy. I would expect a kind of a joint press conference, basically if you're looking to put this thing to bed, then everybody shows up, all right, here's what we're doing. And
No, here's what I want.
you lay it out.
All I wanted was her to say, "All right, you've received the press release from the FAA. The FAA has said that this is all it." Instead of her just saying it, you have the form. Here's the FAA. Now the FAA hasn't denied it.
That's all.
I'm just saying you put it to bed immediately.
That's exactly what you and I. That's all you and I need from this administration. But I
Right.
mean, you've got everybody talking about it and the possibilities and the conspiracy theories and what it could be. The greatest concern, obviously, is that it's people from Mars, and we don't know if they're the enemy or not. We
Now-
know Iran is the enemy.
Well, the whole point is nobody else cared. We're just that just hit me. I go, that's what would have made it better for me if you had it. But the left doesn't care. They're furious about everything right now. They're absolutely livid. The last thing they care about was drones.
Well, and that's another thing. I don't think that it was necessarily and again, Trump kind of is taking the reins for himself on everything, which is what you do. But there are a number of other departments, FAA. I don't know if the DOD gets involved here, but certainly the FAA gets involved in, here's a press release. Here's what we found. After a thorough investigation, we are convinced this is a combination of these elements at work here, including a number of people who got, which you and I talked about, it was a copycat game from early on. The moment you say there's suspicious drones over Jersey, every kid named Justin has his drone flying over Jersey at that point. I mean, it was going to be that. Hey, let's see if we can get on the news, and that's that's what I suspected. Now the problem is I forget what's his name, the lawmaker that was talking about. All right, the mothership, which is really where everything pointed to, and it was about the same time that other conspiracy theories were going on about not just Iran and China, but Russia and everything else. I wouldn't put it past a Putin to do something like that, but show me what you found from the investigation. My concern was then, and thank God that concern is over, is that it seemed like nobody was in charge. They found cocaine in the White House during the Biden years. We did something that you might call an investigation. We asked people some questions. We don't know. We're gonna move on. If that were Trump and you found cocaine in the White House, it would be, they would have a tote board, day 36 of the cocaine crisis in the White House. It's...
Well, I will tell you this, and I've said this before, and I saw it from, Levitt yesterday, who was great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought she was. I wondered how she was going to be.
Yeah.
And she was great. And I'll also say this: in 2016, 2017, I won't speak for you, but I wasn't a big fan of how Stephen Miller articulated Trump's points.
Yeah, agreed.
I think he's much better. He was really good. I mean, again, he still had his same personality where he could be, laughing, condescending, but done properly as he did it yesterday. I thought it was extremely effective.
Right.
And so that was really good to see all of that. But without question, not just the mainstream media. We know that they're political activists. The leftist media is political activists. But just in general, I've always gotten the feeling that the public at large expects extreme competence from Republicans and doesn't give a damn whether Democrats are the complete biggest lunatics on the planet, gaslighting, doing whatever. Mm-hmm. It seems as if Republicans are held to a higher standard of articulation than Democrats.
Well, the typo the other day, and they go and they go bat soup crazy, and it's a. Again, I was expecting them to go day 3 of the typo crisis at the White House. That's the approach. Yeah. And then, Trump says something. Well, we insist on decorum. Really? You remember Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky? That kind of decorum? Well, that was just sex. What happened to your decorum? That was just sex. I mean, they're all over the place, but I wonder. I believe nobody's listening anymore. There's a handful of them that are still doing the same thing in the liberal activist media, and on Capitol Hill, it's basically down to AOC. It's really it has and it's. I think what they're doing. I think the Democratic Party. I think those on Capitol Hill, the Democrats, are looking at this, going, you know what? Some of them, best thing we can do is lay low.
Well, I think there's two things. I think, first off, there's so much where when you just get, if you're a political activist or a reporter out there, just when you say, okay, I'm going to investigate this, there's 10 other things that Trump brings forward.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Trump now is a better communicator, and everybody who works for him are not just better communicators, but they are better blunt communicators.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. It's not that you just communicate a message, but you communicate it with the effectiveness of being blunt. Like, duh.
Yeah.
You get to the point very, very quick. You don't hem and haw around it. You don't scan through a binder, looking completely lost. And I think that's what would be effective. I just love how the analysis of 1 week of the president, which is just, and his administration, which is just hilarious because, I mean, you're under nothing after a week. You haven't been, nobody, you can't be effective in 1 week as to, for example, what I thought was really hilarious was, you're 3 or 4 days into it and Democrats are screaming, prices aren't lower yet. Prices aren't lower yet.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
But it does show one thing. They do understand. They always understood inflation.
Oh, yeah.
They always understood inflation, but didn't care if it happened during the Biden administration.
Well, now they're screaming about inflation.
Right. They always cared about it. They know that it was a problem. And I'm talking about the media, but the media accepted the lies from Democrats that inflation wasn't important, that it was good. And that's how you know they're political activists because, again, it was 2-3 days in. I mean, I'm talking Thursday and Friday of last week.
Right.
And you had reporters and you had, Democrats especially saying, how come it isn't lower? How come it isn't lower? The prices aren't lower yet. Trump said he's going to lower prices. And it's like, wow. So it shows that they always knew. And it showed that they were always covering for the Biden administration. And they were accepting the absolute bizarre excuses that inflation wasn't a problem, that actually inflation was good.
Yeah.
Because if inflation's out there, that means people are spending more money, and spending more money is good. Remember the whole transitory thing? So, I mean, across, it's interesting to watch all of this, but really the public, there'll be 2 times that the public will decide where they believe the administration is going, and that will be before the midterms and then 3 years from now as you enter the next election.
Yeah.
Which
it's on the administration because right now all fingers point to J.D. Vance being the guy in 28. You got to get through 26 first. Speaker Johnson saying, typically you lose some seats at that first midterm, but, historically, but we're going to be, and it's all right. But this is on you to get to work and prove it. And campaign, by the way, if you get something done.
I won't agree with Mike Johnson on that.
I didn't when he said it, and I won't until November of 26.
Right. The Republican,
if it happens.
The Republican Congress has a hell of a lot to prove to me. And right now, from what I see, they can't even decide whether to meet together or not. And it's being thrown back and forth now. I was laughing with, Chip Roy, and a lot of conservatives didn't go to this, meet and greet where they could do strategy. And they said, we already know where we stand. We know where Trump stands. Let's just do it. Why are we wasting our time, 3 days? And so Chip Roy's saying, I'm trying to get the Trump agenda done and you're not. So now, in essence, both sides are, whether it's the conservatives and the Republican or the rest of them, whatever you wish to call them, now both sides are calling each side, basically communicating, you're the rhino, you're the rhino, you're the rhino, you're the rhino.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's when he said that, I thought, what are you smoking? What makes you think right? I mean, you try and sound confident, but man, you're a little too far out right now with too many problems in your chamber to be talking about what's with your own party, to be talking about the midterm and winning it and gaining more seats.
Right, because if you can't come to an agreement and you can't get everybody on board, you don't accomplish anything.
No,
it's done.
Yeah,
then the American public, what you're afraid. Because look, the American public is fickle. When I say that, I get complaints. I'm not saying our listeners are fickle. They seem to be pretty consistent in what they believe. But the American public, the American public can be idiots. They fell for hope and change. Hope and change. I like that. I think I'll vote for that guy because it's hope and change. Hope and change. Hope and change. Somebody could put 3 words together: hope and change. That's the person that needs to be president.
Look,
and now
over
Obama,
4 years ago, they fell for the No Malarkey tour.
Yeah,
I mean, geez, seriously.
Exactly. They elected the village idiot. They
Yeah.
elected Biden.
Right.
Completely clueless.
Right.
And so, to sit there, I'm never one to, you and I said on election day, this is simply draft day. We've always said it's simply the draft. We have no idea whether the draft's going to work out or not because you've got to perform on the field. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm giving sports analogies for politics. I apologize.
Yeah, football season's over for you.
I'm just gonna go back.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go back and
See, I let it go in August, so it's
we'll just play audio cuts. It's
move
well,
on.
no. You let it go last week. It's over for you for this year already now.
No, that's what I hear. Yeah. Oh my God, the screaming
for the Cowboys.
Yeah, right.
I had some Bills fans write to me and say, "Should we take any solace that is it really bad in Dallas right now for the Cowboys?" And I started laughing. I went, "Yeah, it's not good. I don't think anybody's in agreement with the direction of where
Jerry
they're
Jones
going."
picks a new coach, and then he says, "Yeah, it's a gamble." What?
And I was like, seriously, I understand the heartbreak that Bills fans are feeling right now, but you're in a lot better place than Cowboy fans are right now.
And have been for, 29 years?
Yeah, Cowboys fans will be going, "What are you complaining about? Shut up, Bills fans.
Yeah,
You made it to the AFC Championship.
Right.
Playoffs? Remember who was a New Orleans coach? Remember, he goes, "Playoffs? What the hell are you talking about, playoffs?
Yeah.
We can't even win a game." Oh, I can't think of that guy's name. That great video.
I hear if it gets any worse with the Cowboys, they're going to move them to Cleveland.
I don't think Cleveland will support two losing teams. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Starting and charging system-related issues are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Knowing the warning signs that could indicate your electrical system needs attention can help you avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. Have your batteries inspected by a professional technician if you smell any unusual or strong odors coming from the battery box. A pungent odor could indicate chemicals are escaping from a damaged or overcharged battery.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I was thinking that Trump announcing the buyouts for federal employees, because they're trying to get rid of what? I think it's like 10% is what they're trying to get rid of.
Right.
Two things we're going to learn. Well, one thing we're going to learn, and then another comment. We're going to learn whether these people really, because you've seen it where it's like 50, 60% of people say that if they can't work remote, they're going to quit.
Yeah.
Well, this is a buyout. I think you get like 8 months' pay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a buyout, and we'll see how many people really don't want their jobs.
Mm.
And the second point would be that this, not only would it be unprecedented if he was able, even if he got 5% of the workforce reduced, that would be mind-boggling when you think about it.
Yeah.
And there would be no victims.
Right.
It's a political win because
It's all voluntary.
It's not like he's saying, okay, we're cutting 10% of the workforce, cut 10%, and then the media would be all over these people that are losing their jobs and their children starving and everything else. With the buyout, you took it.
Well, and I try and put myself in that position, and I think, oh, wait a minute, if he's offering a buyout now, in the private sector, if they offer, like, okay, we'll do if you want to retire or resign now, we'll give you a parachute. And I'm thinking, well, if I don't do this now, there's probably going to be layoffs right after this.
Right.
I better take advantage. We'll see how many people actually do that with this.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Well, Caroline Leavitt began her term as White House press secretary yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you during the break, said a little bit of an upgrade, and then we looked at each other. It was like, well, for God's sakes. An empty podium would be an upgrade.
It's and one of the things is that with anything that you're promoting, in this case, anyone you're speaking for, product knowledge is key. Knowing that the president is the product, you must know at every turn. You must be able to speak, unless it's something that warrants reading a statement from the White House directly. You're not reading. You're up there answering all those questions and taking on the media in this case, because that's basically what it's going to be. It's not, the media was really confounded by the Biden administration because they were looking for their talking points and rarely got them because nobody was competent enough to deliver those talking points. In fact, they didn't really have talking points. As far as we know, they didn't really have talking points on anything. How do you not have talking points?
Because you have no idea what your boss is going to say next.
Because your boss doesn't have any idea what he's going to say next.
But here's part of the fun from yesterday.
You mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
By the way, did you see what the question?
Mm-hmm.
Prices have skyrocketed.
Yeah, right.
Since he's been in office a week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what are you?
What
are you talking about?
But let's continue. Here we go.
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees, including his nominee for the United States Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the plethora of ways that President Trump has addressed saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing to doing that in the days ahead.
Yeah, that's vastly different. How many things did she cover right there?
And she's got notes, not looking at
at them. No, she was looking at them.
Yeah, she's looking right.
Yeah, Karine Jean-Pierre would still be scrambling through the pages of her magic book, which had zero magic in it.
And let's just play some of the moments, some of the highlights.
All right.
Since I won't be playing any sports highlights, even in my personal life, for a long time.
For a long time.
Let's play some political highlights. Here we go.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOJ and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million dollars that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on.
I just see the protest in front of the White House. Condoms for Gaza.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for that one. It's like things are so bizarre. I'm waiting for that one.
Yeah, but I actually, if you'd asked me, hey, did you see that protest condoms for Gaza in front of the White House? I would say, yeah, it's been there for days. I would expect that they've been, by now, they've already been set up.
But that's where you're extremely effective when you bring it up. Here's the other thing, too. Since Ramaswamy has left, and who knows why Ramaswamy left Doge, you hear the liberal media talking about the fact that, well, it's going to fail. It's going to fail. It's going to fail. That's why Ramaswamy left. It's going to fail. Well, Doge is simply pointing out. Doge isn't making the cuts. Elon Musk and Doge are simply going to point out where the spending is and where we can cut. And what they did yesterday, and I like that. I like the fact that they're bringing it up, Doge and the OMB, and you throw out where this is what we're spending money on. So Doge doesn't fail. I was like, when Democrats were saying, well, Doge is going to fail, it's going to fail, it's going to fail. What do you mean? Their only job is to point out Congress may fail. The Republicans may not be able to keep it together in Congress to actually make all these cuts. And, of course, they're not going to make all the cuts that are going to be needed. They're not going to make, they've already moved back from $2 trillion every year in cuts. But the fact is their job is simply to point out where the spending can be cut. Doge can't cut anything. Only Congress can. Yeah.
Yep. And it's, when I had somebody write me and say, I can't believe you don't have any confidence in Doge. This goes back a little bit. And I wrote back and said, well, my confidence doesn't need to be with Doge. It needs to be with where it's always been, with those who control the purse strings. And I don't have any confidence there. Zero. When it happens, I'll applaud. Ask me if it's going to happen, and my answer is always going to be, I doubt it.
Well, but the confidence isn't even with Doge. The confidence that the lack of confidence that government can cut basically goes to the people.
Yeah, the will of the people.
The will of the people.
Sure.
If the will of the people really wanted to cut $2 trillion, I was there when I first became a talk show host. The only protest of government spending I've ever seen. And that was back in 89, 90.
1989, to be clear.
Yes. Yeah. 1989.
Yeah,
right, not 18. Right, just make sure.
It
was 1989, 1990. And that was a throw the bums out, the clean sweep. And I remember because I had just become a radio talk show host, and it was members of my audience who said, we're participating in the national protest. And there was a national protest, and it was in front of congressional offices all over the country. And it was actually pretty funny because everybody had their brooms.
I know. In fact, it led to the 1991 broom shortage.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And then brooms went up in price and caused an increase in broom inflation.
Right.
But that's it. But people were concerned back then, and I believe, I forgot what I did research about a year ago on it because I had talked about it. I went, I forgot what the debt was at that time. $4 trillion less, maybe. I'm not sure what it was. But that's the last time people were concerned about it. You and I talked about the fact that the promotion of Doge and cutting and everything else, and I've seen 2 polls now, the majority of Americans aren't in favor of Doge.
Well,
I hope those are bad polls because Americans normally say, oh, yeah, we want the cuts, but then they don't want the cuts if it affects anything that they do. If you're going to make $2 trillion in cuts, if you're going to make $1 trillion in cuts, it's going to affect a significant number of people that are going to say, no, we don't want the cuts. The public is extremely, you may not be, our audience may not be, but the majority of the American public does not really want the cuts.
Look at the discussion in recent days over replacing the income tax with tariffs and making Mexico pay for it. And when you pare all that down, every bit of that starts and ends with the spending. It goes back to, well, you get the spending in line. Slow the rate of growth of spending, and I'd be impressed. But in order to, when people say, well, we could do this and we could do that, that's not going to happen without a political will to cut spending.
Right.
It's none of it. None of it matters. You can talk until you're blue in the face. None of it matters until there is a political will.
And I can see what they're doing. I mean, they're doing it correctly. They're they're bringing up, well, we can't make any of these cuts. You already see the pushback just to review where the money is being spent.
It was a pause.
Yeah, it's a pause to review where the money's being spent.
Right.
You see how the press, responds to it, and she had a perfect answer, which is point out something that Americans would say, well, that's insane. Condoms for Gaza, $50 million?
Right.
Now, $50 million is nothing compared to what we have in our debt, but the fact is it shows the American people where the waste is. And the best that the Republicans can do, and this administration can do, is point out the incredible wasteful spending that exists out there and show the American people where we can cut. But it's up to the American people through their elected representatives. But the American people, there has to be a groundswell of saying, we got to get this under control. And my point was, the last protest I've seen on anything with government spending was 36 years ago.
Yeah.
There hasn't been one, there may have been a couple of people somewhere, but there hasn't been one big protest in 36 years.
No.
To protest what is going to be probably the biggest domestic challenge that we face as a nation. It's the biggest, one of the biggest immoralities domestically we have done, which is put what we want now on future generations, on our children and grandchildren. And if you ask people, they'll say, well, of course, we need to keep the budget under control. Fine, we need to do these massive cuts. No. Only get rid of foreign aid and wasteful spending, and that's all we have to do. Well, that isn't all we have to do. And as long as the public is going to keep their head in the sand, I'm not saying that about our audience and about the public at large, the best you can do is point out, but the public is the one that's going to decide whether we cut or not.
Yep. And when there is that political will, when there is that grassroots groundswell, you'll see it. You'll know it. You won't be able to get away from it. Because once it's recognized and truly believed by people who either aren't paying attention or don't care right now, then you won't get away from it because it is the problem we are facing in the future. And there's no way we don't get there unless something changes.
Now, the public did respond and does understand that the inflation they have felt is directly tied to government spending because they personally felt it. And that's good because at least that's in their mind. At least they understand, or excuse me, they have felt, which means they understand better because it's affected you.
Right. You touched the hot stove.
Right. Yeah. They understand that if the spending continues, inflation will continue.
Yeah.
And that's a problem this administration has. Well, if we cut spending, then people will be upset, but the spending causes inflation. 866-90-RED-I.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome, and good morning, man. We got so much to talk about. You see the story, union membership now falls to single digits.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I think the private sector has to be below 6 then.
Well, you saw.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, 5.9%. It's below 6. Private unionization, 6%.
One of the companies talked about in terms of unions in recent years has been Starbucks. Starbucks announced recently layoffs coming.
Yep.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, Jim Acosta gone from CNN.
Yeah.
You ready for his last statement?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This was the last statement that he wanted to make to his audience.
All right.
One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope.
Weren't you, Jim, Eric Harley, Red Eye Radio, I have a question. Weren't you telling lies? Yes, you were. I'll answer that question myself.
That's what's so hilarious.
Don't give in to the lies.
They
hold on to the hope. Gary, hold on to your hope. Wow. By the way, that's illegal in public. You can't do that. You can't hold on to your hope in public. It seemed there was Axios had us. Jim Acosta exits CNN after 18 years. Okay. That's fine. Most of CNN is exiting CNN. This whole thing, it was the liberal media, other liberal media, has really been, almost in tribute mode to Jim Acosta. Let's calm down. He wasn't that influential. And those of us who are critical thinkers know that he's a liar. He insists on lying. He's not a journalist. So, we'll see where he ends up. Podcast, the remnants of MSNBC or whatever that's going to be.
I'm trying to find the audio that we played yesterday of Acosta because it lays out some of his biggest lies, and it lays out that he told lies that were so easy to correct.
Right.
And
well, we played the one audio cut yesterday, and one of the biggest ones was the Charlottesville lie. But over and over again, this is a guy who, considers himself a hero. And at every turn just wanted to debate Trump. We played the cut yesterday, going back and forth on the Russian hoax, which wasn't the first time he had done that. He had done that multiple times and was still doing that well into it because at that time, the liberal activist media was fully on board with telling that lie and taking the Hillary lie and fraudulent actions of Hillary Clinton and everybody else involved. That led to a special prosecutor and Robert Mueller. My gosh. You helped to carry the lie. And remember, during the transition in 2016, he's the one that brought up the BuzzFeed, that it was at that time a story in BuzzFeed about the dossier. And BuzzFeed had already, they didn't care. Remember what the one of the founders of BuzzFeed was talking about, the CEO at the time. He was saying, oh, they had a disclaimer on the story, for those that don't know, that we can't validate a number of these things in this story. We don't know, but we're going to publish it anyway. Someone asked him about that, and he said, well, this is what we see our staff, our writers as these days. Basically admitting, we're not journalists. This is who we are. We're activists.
By the way, where's BuzzFeed?
I don't know. They probably have a MySpace page.
Yeah, they went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They went out of business.
Yeah.
So how did that work out for them?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now I got to go to MySpace and see if they have a MySpace page.
I mean,
a tribute page somebody built. I miss my BuzzFeed.
And that's it's amazing to people like us in the media. As we've stated, we're as opinionated as could be, but we don't give an opinion. We don't set out a story that's a lie and then comment on a lie. We don't play an audio cut of somebody saying something and leave out the rest of the statement that was made with that person that shows that what you're accusing them of is 180 degrees different from what they actually said.
Right.
We would never do that.
Right.
I don't think that if we did what Jim Acosta did, that we would be employed today.
No.
If we did, I just don't believe it. I mean, because that's always been in the back of my mind that, well, I can't I can't play an audio cut of someone that clearly and make an opinion and say, here's what this person is saying, and therefore they're this, knowing that in the full context of what they said, it's 180 degrees different. Number one, I wouldn't do that because it's wrong, but a very close number two. Well, number one, it's wrong, and you lose credibility with your own audience if you do that. And number two, I'd be afraid of a damn lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
But here it is. I found the audio cut with Jim Acosta, and this is somebody put this together, and this was when Acosta last week was telling a Republican congressman that we're the news and we're about the truth. And then somebody put together the lies of the obvious lies. These aren't subtle lies. They're as obvious as you could possibly ever get. Here we go.
This is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking you to come on and tell the truth. It's an alarming choice for a man who has often struggled to unequivocally denounce white supremacists. You recall these moments.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Those words have power. They have meaning. And when Donald Trump speaks, the world listens. Neo-Nazis and white supremacists certainly listen. So why can't he denounce them? Why can't he reject their support?
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
What's your response to Donald Trump saying she should be fired, that Liz Cheney should be fired upon? He keeps speaking in these very extreme terms about the potential dangers to the country if he doesn't win in November. He's used words like bloodbath.
Now, we all know that the Liz Cheney thing, he lied there. He lied about Charlottesville.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the last one there?
Well, the Charlottesville thing, by the way, was easily provable from the beginning they went out of their way with something that was very public. You know, if you look at the Russian hoax thing, you really had to get into the weeds on that to know where it began, how it started, and where it was going at that time. To have that full understanding, you really had to get into the minutia. And with Charlottesville, you just had to read the entire quote.
Well, you had the Charlottesville, you had the Liz Cheney, which he was implying that he said shoot Liz Cheney, which he did not say.
Right.
And then the bloodbath, which was about where the automobile industry was going to end up, right? If you continued with the electric vehicle mandates.
Right.
And he's trying to make it sound like he was talking about it's going to be a bloodbath on the streets if he's not elected.
Right. Violent protests.
Right. Those are the lies of Jim. Those are the absolute obvious lies of Jim Acosta. So do you think, because Michael Rappaport, the actor, what changed him, what changed the billionaire, I can't think of his first name, but Pincus, we played it last week. What really was the determining factor of when they said the Democrats and the media are lying to me was Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Because it's so obvious that they were lying.
Right.
And Biden was continuing to use it. And who else? Because Pincus brought that up. He was saying, and then they kept at it. Biden was using it this year. This thing is 3 years, 3 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know we all know the truth now, and they're still lying about it. And so Acosta gets on there twice in the last week before he's gone and starts talking about don't fall for the lies, and he's the biggest pathological liar out there.
Well, on the Russian hoax, there is no greater political lie in a set of lies. Because it required that kind of, everything, every step of how that was implemented required everyone along the way to lie about it. And it was early on. Remember, it was John Solomon. That was, and others that were doing this would have been about March of 2017, that were doing the actual journalism on the Russian hoax thing.
Well, the reason you bring up the Russian hoax is we played yesterday the audio cut where he was talking about, to Trump back in November, I think it was in 2022, are you going to be indicted for the for the Russian and everything else? He goes, it's a hoax, it's fake news. And he was right. It was fake news. And by that time, by November of 2022, we all knew.
Yep.
We knew at that time.
Yep.
We knew it was bogus. And he was still pushing it. So he pushed the false Russian hoax, knowing that it was false. He pushed Charlottesville that he knew was a lie. He pushed the Liz Cheney shooting thing that he knew was a lie. And he pushed the bloodbath. So this wasn't just going back to 2022 where he was doing things. He was doing things just in the last couple of months that were absolutely lies. He's a pathological liar. And there he is the last week talking about integrity and truth and don't fall for the lies. And he's the biggest damn liar out there.
Yeah. They got fully on board. He was one of the first to ask Trump when he was president-elect in 2016. It was right at the end of 2016. And he asked him about the Russian hoax thing. He asked him about the dossier. And he referenced BuzzFeed. And he was kicked out of that room and then said, well, this is freedom of the press. Well, he's not president yet. That wasn't a government building. And then, over and over again, immigration. Lying about immigration. He's lied at every turn. And why is that? Because he can't win on the issues with Trump.
Yeah, he knows he can't win on the arguments. He can't win the arguments. And that's why what we've dealt with, they suck on the issues. So, of course, they can't win the arguments. The only thing you have left is lie after lie after lie after lie. I guess my point is, this is where I say, I'd like to get into somebody's brain just for a couple of minutes to see what they think. And I can't imagine doing this as I've done it now. Talk radio 36 years, radio going on 42. I just can't imagine every single day knowing I'm going to have to tell a lie, then I'm going to have to rewrite history.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to waste my time on it. You may disagree with my opinion. There are people that disagree with my economic opinions, and that's fine. I don't view them as economic opinions. I view it as observation of reality, because economics to me is not an opinion. It's observation of how people respond to incentive. But on other things, you and I have never looked at said, okay, Trump came out today and said, you're a moron. Let's pretend he didn't say that. Let's pretend Trump came out and said, everybody is wonderful. Well, we wouldn't do that because we'd sit there and analyze, well, Trump called him a moron. Are they a moron?
Because I look at it and ask, where's the truth? Well, truth is everywhere. You were the media. Sorry, Jim Acosta. Everybody else is the media. I don't need to tell a lie. Let's pick one of the leaders of the Democratic Party right now, and has been for a while, Chuck Schumer. I don't need to lie about Chuck Schumer and say things like he knows perfectly well how to grill a cheeseburger. I don't need to say those things. There's plenty of things I can say that are the truth.
The cheese on the raw beef on the grill.
Gosh.
Oh my God.
Hey, how's that beef tartare coming there, Chuck?
Oh my God, that was
my God.
that was the best.
Yeah.
You put the cheese on at the end, Chuck.
Look, we know you're pandering to the dairy industry. Big milk, as we call them, big cheese. But wow. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You heard the Democrats, which means the media, yesterday, talking about the fact that caught in these deportation of criminal, which means committing a criminal act outside of the illegal immigration, are being caught up and being sent back. And the White House coming out and said, well, we believe that they're all criminals. And the media coming out saying, it's only a civil infraction. No, it isn't. Bill Maloogian points out overstaying a visa is a civil infraction, but crossing illegally is, in fact, a crime. It's a misdemeanor under 8 U.S.C. 1325. And if you cross, go back and re-enter after deportation, that is a felony.
Yeah, right.
So Bill Maloogian pointed that out.
Well,
who probably you can't find in the media the last couple of years more of an expert on illegal immigration in the United States.
Right. Well, It's very simple. Do we have immigration laws? The answer is yes. If you're here illegally, are you breaking the law? The answer is yes. Do that, man on the street, right there, what I just did. Just walk up to the average person. We have immigration laws, correct? Yes. So if you don't follow those laws and come here illegally, are you breaking the law? Yes. People get it.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just love this here. Reading John Nolte from Breitbart. Captain American star tells Europe Captain America shouldn't represent America. And he writes, the Disney grooming syndicate, oh my God, handed the Captain America franchise a star who doesn't believe Captain America should represent America. Well, it could be the Gulf of Captain America. This is a kind of Dixie Chicks moment because the idiot did it overseas in Italy. Due to extensive reshoots, Captain America Brave New World budget is reportedly have hit something like $400 million. The sequel hits theaters in about 2 weeks and arrives after Ant-Man and the Wasp tanked. Nevertheless, here is America's new Captain America, Anthony Mackie, making it clear he does not believe that a character named Captain America, who is also a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, should represent America. Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. And it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity, someone who is trustworthy and dependable. You can hear the disdain in Mackey's voice when he says the term America. And then he goes on to list a number of virtues as though they are not American virtues.
Yeah.
If Captain America doesn't represent America, why is his name Captain America?
The most obvious point.
Oh, my gosh.
Captain America doesn't have to be about captains or America. It's about service or America. Actually, it does by default.
If he doesn't represent America, why the red, white, and blue uniform?
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh. What's next? Black Panther doesn't represent black people. Ant-Man and Aunt Mary don't represent ants. X-Men don't represent Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, that's hilarious.
Superman isn't super. We're not so sure he's a man.
I don't blame Mackie for this. He's an actor. Obviously, no one explained to him what drives and motivates Captain America because the Marvel Disney people believe Captain America should not represent America.
Yeah.
The reason is simple. Marvel and Disney and Anthony Mackie hate America and Americans and see themselves as above America and Americans. To them, America is a joke. Americans are rubes. They especially hate how our superstitious beliefs in things like rugged individualism, individual liberty, that all countries, including America, should put their country first, basic moral decency, all get in the way of their globalist designs and degenerate desire to sexualize our children. Oh, my God, what a great line.
Yeah.
Great line. And then we all have the gall to not buy tickets to their grooming movies or subscribe to their grooming streaming services.
Yeah.
That's what really makes them angry. We dare to disagree with them. We refuse to worship them. We hide our children from them. Above all, we criticize, mock, and ridicule them.
Yeah.
And they hate us for it. They hate us. They hate our country, and they especially hate us voting for Donald Trump for president.
Well, they hate our company, except on opening weekend. You need the box office. You need the subscribers.
Where's Tom Cruise with Top Gun 3?
Mission Impossible, actually, is next.
Oh, is it another Mission Impossible? Okay.
Yeah, one coming out this year sometime. It's got the word final in the title. I forget the title, but it looks like it's the end of the Mission Impossible series. Unless they do another one. That's not Captain America. That's Captain Obvious. He's the one guy, or he's one of the guys that gets it in Hollywood. Do a great action movie. And when anybody asks you about it, it's a great action movie. You know, Mission Impossible. It's about, spies and all that cool stuff. Car chases.
Well, and covert American activity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Can't have that.
Well, a lot of that took place in Europe. Nobody knows covert like the Brits. Man, they do it right.
Well, that'd be 007.
Mm-hmm.
Mission Impossible is Americans.
Well,
and
but if you look at
action.
Well, but it's almost always in other parts of the world.
Well, yeah.
You look at
because they can't operate within the United States. That's their job.
Or can
straighten
they?
Out the rest of the world.
Or can they? And are they?
Their job is to straighten out the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
American values.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to really tick off any liberal here at the moment.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured that one out.
Well, it's and here's something interesting too. This is what I've noticed. The people who make the movies are in business to make money.
I know.
Think about this.
Is there
star of Captain America is basically going, "Boo, America!"
I mean, is there any executive at Marvel Disney saying, "Shut up"?
I'd call him and say, "You're done." By the way, I could draw the line between those comments and probably something in the contract that regarding disparaging comments about the movie.
Well, it'd be like Tom Cruise coming out before Top Gun 2 and saying, I hate the military-industrial complex and the Air Force.
Yeah.
I just hate the Air Force. I hate what the Air Force does.
I hate guns. I hate cops.
I hate guns.
You put the two together, and I'm angry all the time.
Or before the next Mission Impossible. I hate the CIA. The CIA should go away. America is wrong on everything.
Well,
now go see my movie.
Well, look, I've proven time and time again, these missions are very possible. These people who do this for a living, throw in the military, throw them out. Even the military, they don't really do much. I'm doing more than they're doing. Just totally trash the entire franchise.
I can see Cruz coming up. Well, I mean, he's not, but I mean, I just, in my bizarro fantasy world, him coming out and saying, well, we're for the CIA, but not under Trump.
Well,
Trump, this isn't a Trump CIA. This is an Obama CIA. Well, that's ridiculous because you always succeed in your missions.
If you look at what Tom Cruise is about in terms of what he does for work, he gets it. He knows why people go to movies. You got somebody who's starring in your movie that has America in the title, and he's going all over the world going, "Boo, America." What is this whole America thing? What is it? What? That's horrible. We're going to call it just Captain.
But then they'd object to that.
Well, can you imagine?
They'd object to that because you basically that's basically you're listing people, you're classifying people with certain labels.
Well, can you imagine?
And it shouldn't be done that.
Can you imagine Captain Crunch going on his media tour saying, listen, kids should eat oatmeal, soft foods only. What's this crunch crap? This isn't real food.
It's about time that we address what Captain Crunch does to the top of your mouth.
Exactly.
And how it scrapes all the skin off the top if you eat more than one bowl.
Look, you get into the third box, there's going to be surgery involved. I have two nieces, sisters. They were champion, whatever cereal, they would plow through boxes of it. They're both great adults now, but wow, I was like, my gosh, that kind of cereal consumption is over the top. And imagine any product going to the media. You're trashing your product. You're trashing the essence of your product. If I were a Disney shareholder, I would be greatly concerned about that. Why do we have somebody who's, you spend the money, go back and do enormous reshoots to the tune of $400 million. You got to get to $400 million before you break even. And that doesn't include the promotion, by the way. So now you've got the guy trashing the movie. Man, if I were a shareholder, I'd be greatly concerned.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point in doing the movie?
Right.
Are we just, is our goal just to burn $400 million?
Right.
They still don't get it.
They don't.
They still don't.
They
get
don't.
It. They don't.
How do you not understand what your job is? You know, this is what he's doing here is the apology tour. Obama did one. And what he's doing is he's doing the apology tour all over the world. It's not, go to Europe. It's not about America. It's Captain America, former service member. He's got superpowers. It's a great movie. You should go see it. That's not hard.
Oh, my God. Just hilarious.
But they feel like they've got to apologize for being an American. Then don't agree to do movies called Captain America. What the hell?
Oh, my gosh, so much fun.
You know why there's not a Captain Europe? I don't have to tell you. Because saying the words Captain Europe tells you everything.
They'd never be able to get that through European Union DEI.
No.
Well, it's got to be Captain European Union.
Exactly.
It's like any James Bond movie. He can't do anything with the Queen's permission. It has to be the European Union bureaucracy.
Yeah, well, the Brits would be saying, well, this is why we left the Union. It's exactly why we did it. We're gone.
That's why Brexit happened.
Captain Europe. No, it's not going to happen. Captain Canada. No. I will say Captain Mexico has a pretty cool ring to it. I don't know what it would be about. There might be something there. I mean, seriously.
You said Captain Canada, I'm thinking instead of the red, white, and blue suit, big maple leaf on the
maple leaf on his chest. I'm sorry.
Confronting the criminals with the big. Hey, that's a maple leaf. You got any syrup?
Hey, is that a maple leaf, eh? Are you going to play hockey? Because if not, take it off.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Could always be kept in California. That's
Nope. Nope. Never going to happen, and we all know why.
Coming up, following the top of the hour, how the president's staff is answering questions. This time it's Stephen Miller. When I saw that the president was going to make him part of the administration again, I sort of rolled my eyes. I wasn't a fan of his presentation during the first term. He did a great job yesterday. He did a great job. I think there's a learning curve. Still holds the same opinions, but learning how to explain things a lot better. And we'll have his back and forth with Jake Tapper yesterday on it. Plus, James Carville. Again, Biden listened to the idiot left and did not enforce the border. Nobody's really paying attention that much to Carville on the left, though, are they? Nobody on the left's really paying attention to anybody.
No, they're not. It's they're really not making any noise, any real noise. I mean, in their own room they are, but nobody's paying attention to them. They're not getting any attention. It's, again, when you have to focus on a typo, they focus on the price of eggs. Price is drastically up. Yeah, well, you know why that is. We all know why that is.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. All right, you ready to go?
I don't know.
Scott Jennings cut actually from 2 days ago. We never got a chance to play it, but they're still on the whole Zig Heil thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That Catherine Rampell thinks she writes for the Washington Post. It's good to have a new leftist lunatic.
Yeah.
Bring somebody new and young in.
Yeah.
And here's part of their back and forth because she's still on it. She cannot drop that. And here's Scott Jennings' response. Here we go.
I was hearing a lot of sighing, Scott. What's the deal?
I mean, we've moved on from Trump derangement syndrome to Elon derangement syndrome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to defend his
saying
the Germans get to do?
Let me let him finish, Catherine.
I love this game we play where you talk for 2 minutes, I talk for 3 seconds,
ahead,
and you
Scott.
freak out. So he has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a Sig Heil, which I just heard you say, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say. Under no circumstances.
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sig Heil.
Under no
Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sig
circumstances
Heil.
was he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically.
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three.
Banal.
Number three.
As you can see, she just won't let him talk.
By the way, why is she giving so much credibility to the Nazis in Germany?
I've no idea.
This is the insanity.
Yeah, she's a basket case. She really is. What a nut.
No, and she's a child. You heard it right there. Yeah. She argues like a child. I didn't say debate because she's not capable. Because to debate, you have to actually be on an issue. She's arguing, and there's a difference. She's a child. Seriously. Keep it up, CNN. Keep it going. Won't be long. Won't be long.
It's pretty. I mean, it's interesting, but again, we had said this after the election. They're not going to change.
Nope.
And they're not going to change.
And thank goodness Neither is Scott Jennings. He's doing an excellent job. I would have stopped right there. Why are you giving so much credibility to the Nazis in Germany? You're the ones who are. This is how you think. This is how you, and it's your side that is proudly promoting their anti-Semitism. Yeah. This president stands with Israel. This president is not an anti-Semite. Your side is proudly filled with anti-Semites that go out and protest their anti-Semitism.
I would have used her own words against her.
Mm-hmm.
Said, you're taking something that obviously in the context, if you saw it, was him extending his heart out to everybody out there. Because why? He was saying those words. The fact that you're using Nazis in Germany, and again, that Nazis in, I love that. What an argument point that is. Nazis in Germany thought it was.
Yeah.
Well, since they're Nazis,
she gives them all credibility.
Since they're Nazis, they're going to attempt to promote anything and lie about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But you, who claim you're against the Nazis, are trying to give something credibility, which keeps them screaming that it was. You are enabling the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just too ezy. It's too easy with these people. But this is what we're gonna. We're just in. This is what the. This will be the 9th full day, and they're already absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're only in the second week now. And this is how it's going for them, which isn't good. It really isn't. But this is where everybody in that newsroom, all the management at CNN is saying, yeah, let's keep that going. Let's bring on somebody who's going to keep that whole Nazi salute thing going. Because they're desperate. Because they know that as liberal activists, they have nothing on the issues. They have zero. 0 points to make. None.
Well, it didn't work.
It never has.
They lost an election because of it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons when you and I remember the focus groups that were asked about it, and they said, well, they kept calling Trump a Nazi, and I didn't see a Nazi.
Right.
Because I know what a Nazi is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking if they're going to use that, and then when they called him a Nazi, and then they used as evidence Charlottesville, so I went back and didn't pay attention to what somebody like Jim Acosta would tell me, because Jim Acosta didn't play the whole clip. When I played the whole clip, I found out that, wow, Democrats are lying about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you start thinking to yourself, if Donald Trump has all these legit faults, then why are you lying about him?
Right.
Why is so much, the Russian hoax, the whole Nazi thing that you use over and over and over again, that you lie about, and you can demonstrate the lie by just playing the clip.
Mm.
And you and I have talked about the actor Michael Rappaport, and then the tech billionaire just last week, who said, well, that was the key moments for them. That was the moment. That was what pushed them over the edge and said, we can't support this anymore, because once we found that, then we started doing our own research, and we found out that all the Nazi stuff was based on the Democrats telling lies about Trump. So if they were lying about that, what else were they lying about?
Right.
And that's what got these people. And the interesting thing is, these are Democrats, and when these Democrats change, the billionaire Pincus last week, he said, I'm raging, I'm full of anger and hatred because I realize I've been used, I've been lied to pathologically by the Democrats about this guy. And not that I agree with everything about him, but they're demonizing him. And we realize they're demonizing him because on so many solid points, he does, on so many issues, he has so many solid points. They're logical points. And so they're trying to cover it over with this lie that don't pay attention to anything of this stuff because he's a Nazi. And then you look for the evidence of him being a Nazi and you find out they're all lying.
Yeah.
And you realize the Nazi thing is just a whole cover because they suck on the issues and everybody knows it. And so they've got to deflect from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, as we've said, the people that claim that Trump is a Nazi are the pro-Hamas Democrats.
Yep. Yeah,
who attempt anytime they can to justify October 7th and that Israel shouldn't be allowed to respond to it.
Right. And if there is a protest, condoms for Gaza, they're going to be out there front and center. CFG.
I mean that was great because you can't. And this is what we said we've always said this, and we were criticized in the first part of the Trump administration by Trump supporters when we said communication is it. That's it.
Right. It's everything.
Because you've got the ideas.
Yep.
So you've got to be able to effectively communicate the ideas, which is why, we said, Trump, don't get involved in this. He put something on True Social the other day, and I went, don't go there. Don't go there. I'll be honest with you. Even the stuff like, Gulf of America, don't change the topic. Just don't do pure symbolism for me. Just do substance every day.
Mm-hmm.
Substance. Not that it bothers me. I mean, at all. I mean, I could care less whether it's, we're calling it the Gulf of Texas, by the way, because that's what Governor Abbott said here in Texas. And so we're going to take ownership. And we believe it should be Captain Texas, not Captain America.
Well, and when I'm fishing, it's Gulf of Eric.
But I forgot what was it we got into the other day. Was it about it was something on the whole Joan Rivers thing.
Yeah.
On Joan Rivers' daughter. And and Trump posted, I'm like, stop it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. You're president of the United States. You don't go there. Everything you talk about is a major issue that you want to get a win on. And every time you jump to something else, it doesn't help you. But that's minor. There's so many things coming out that most people didn't even know that he commented on that on True Social. But it's the fact that they're effectively communicating. Trump is right now better than he ever has, and all of his surrogates are too.
Yep.
Here is, for example, let's play this. This is Stephen Miller. He's also learned. And he's talking to Jake Tapper. And,
question about,
excuse me, here I hit the button too soon. And talking about illegal immigration. Here we go.
A question about, because one of the reasons that President Trump got elected, according to President Trump in an interview, I think it was with Kristen Welker of NBC, was because of grocery prices. Not the only reason, but a reason, high prices, inflation, especially at the grocery. The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022, 42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do. So, how does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden floods. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 illegal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
No, but I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones.
I will give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want on this. We don't have 30 minutes.
I don't have I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you
explaining
can come back
to you
and we
your
can talk
audience.
about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They are in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws, and as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
Love it.
Now, the thing is, when he said he was changing the topic, he wasn't. He was giving the full answer, and he gave the full answer, unlike anybody in the Biden administration. He gave the full answer because we got a guest worker program. We can do this other ways.
Right.
We don't need to do it this way.
Right. And Tapper doing what, Tapper's going to do as a liberal. He's just going to, because what he's trying to do is throw him off of his game. He's trying to throw him off of his cadence because he was on the right track. Change the topic. Well, you've got to control what you say, and everyone that's a surrogate and part of this administration and staffers seem to be on point right now. They are controlling what they say, regardless of where the liberal media. I love, by the way, the backwards compliment. I know you're not implying this. I know. Listen, Jake, I would never say you're a moron because that would be wrong. So I'm not going to say you're a moron. Imagine me saying, Jake, you're a moron. That would never happen because it would be wrong. It is the approach that has to be taken in terms of what you heard at the end. You've got to control the answers that you give. That's not a spin. That's not a spin.
I just go back to the first Trump administration. We don't live in the bubble of today. We remember. And I remember Trump supporters telling us we were wrong, that Trump needed to fight every little battle. And we went, nope. Well, he's not fighting every little battle now. He's attempting to win the war. And you communicate effectively on those 5 or 6 or 7 different things. So any apology from anybody who criticized this back then will be accepted.
Well, and if you think about it, exactly, if you think about,
I'm kidding, folks.
In the best that they had in controlling the message and being consistent, she's now the governor of Arkansas. And even with her, it became problematic at times. Remember when they had to stop doing the press conferences for a while?
Because
it wasn't her; it was because the boss was going out saying different things than she was saying.
She was right, exactly.
And you couldn't, and they realized, well, if we can't control that, we need to stop doing this, and he needs to be the lead on whatever he's doing.
And I say this with full compliments. Donald Trump has become a great, effective politician.
Yep.
Because there's nothing wrong with saying it. Well, you're saying he's a politician. Yeah, he's trying to do positive things and promoting them correctly as a politician.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. But I am impressed how the hiring, and I think Wiles probably has a lot to do with it, but then Trump picked Wiles. So Trump gets the credit for all of it.
Yeah.
But they are very, very well effectively communicating right now.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I did say day before Election Day, I said Trump ran a really good campaign. And I said He communicated the message effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll see whether America wanted to hear that message.
Yeah.
You can effectively communicate, and still people may not like your message. I don't know what's going to happen long term here. I hope that the public, does look at the seriousness that this administration is looking at the problems and challenges of this country and takes it as seriously as Trump is right now. But he is effectively communicating, and he's effectively communicating even better post-election because his surrogates are out there every single day, and they are on point.
Yep.
And that's the best that you can do.
Well, and they're proactive. They're not.
Yes.
Nobody is hiding. What you're not seeing is what you saw for the last 4 years, and that is everybody on the defensive or turning their backs and running and hiding and not being proactive. You see everybody out there, and again, we're just now into the second week, and they're out there and they're proactive. It's what's required for people like us, our audience. We believe, well, this is what is done. I mean, this is actually doing the job. But it's such a vast contrast from where we've been for the last 4 years. And quite frankly, where the GOP has been for the longest time, if not forever. You've got to be proactive on your agenda. You've got to get to work day one, and you cannot flinch with the media or anybody else. And that's what's going on.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen when and where you choose. Just so you know the challenges that the United States faces in cutting back, you saw the reaction from the media yesterday when Trump said, "Look, we're going to look at we're going to do a temporary pause on money that's being sent to many NGOs to find out what the money's doing."
Right.
And it's not going to affect direct benefits to the United States,
right,
to Americans. You see, for example, there was some kind of glitch in the Medicare website yesterday. If you go to the Drudge Report, they blame and say that's what Trump shut down, which, of course, is not the truth.
Is it Medicare or Medicaid? I read Medicaid. Was it Medicaid? Could have been both, actually. I don't know.
Let me just check on that very quickly. Yeah, Trump shuts Medicaid portals.
Yeah.
And it was, and from what I know, they didn't.
Right. No.
But direct money to business people, whatever, SNAP benefits, didn't affect that at all.
No.
But it didn't matter. The sky was falling. That's the problem. If you want to know the challenge they face, that's going to be the challenge that they face trying to cut hundreds of billions of dollars from the budget.
Well, my phone blew up, and, with all the notifications on the breaking news and the whole thing, and boom, 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 boom. And then when they issued, and it wasn't really a correction, it was a clarification. But one of the stories said correction. Well, it wasn't a correction. It was a clarification on what this actually affects and who it doesn't affect. But the media didn't want to have that. That's going to be at every turn. By the way, they don't care. Keep in mind, well, if they get it wrong, then, that's on them. Well, no. Their intent is to get it wrong because they want to make it look like the Trump administration is getting it wrong. Their intent is to lie. And it has been for years. So this is going to be the approach.
But understand, this is why Eric and I are very doubtful that the Republicans will have any luck truly cutting the budget.
Yeah. Right.
Because of the absolute outrage, misinformation, and the fact that Americans, in a general way, say we've got to cut, and we've got to cut the waste, and we've got to cut the foreign aid. And as we have stated, most Americans, the latest polls we have seen, which are probably a year or two old, show that Americans believe the budget can be balanced by cutting foreign aid and wasteful spending.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the majority of American public, if that's what they still believe, are ignorant, which means they lack the facts on that's not true. You need, if you're going to balance this budget, if you're going to get rid of the debt and deficit, we may never get rid of the debt.
Right.
If you're just going to get rid of the deficit, which is the, being yearly in the hole, you're going to have to cut. And Americans say they want to cut, but when it comes down to it, after they hear the paranoia, the fear-mongering, they no longer want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it every single time. And the biggest example that we pointed out, and when we pointed out at the time, we had Republicans upset at us, but it was true. The Republicans were going to get rid of Obamacare.
Mm-hmm. In 2016, that was a promise.
Yep. And what did they do? They got rid of the funding mechanism for it,
right?
But kept all of Obamacare. Why? Because people liked getting subsidized health care, and so did Republicans. That's the problem that we face. And that's why, as we've said, they've got to go do the Doge. They've got to point out to the American people, where the waste is, the stupid things that we spend it on. It's a whole different ballgame when the members of Congress have to cut and the people don't want the cuts. When it actually comes down to the cutting, not the information. We're only at the information stage, which is why I said earlier when they said Doge is going to fail. Well, no, it's not. They're going to point out. I mean, if they don't point out all the things that we spend money on, and if they aren't realistic to the American public, if they're not telling the American public the truth about, programs that have to be cut to balance the budget, then I'll say it's failed. But right now, they're just giving out information, and all the information they're giving out now is all right. Yeah. Now, I did see the other day I saw just yesterday, Elon Musk put out, Doge is basically saving $1 billion a day because we're not going to hire. Well, then you're telling me that the budget deficit's going to be $364 billion less. We're going to spend. We're going to have a surplus next year of a ton of money, or whatever they project the deficit to be is going to be $364 billion less. If not, then it doesn't matter that you cut that or you save that. I want to see it at the end.
Yeah, right.
I want to see it on paper at the end that this is how we've cut it. Anything else, to me, is just yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's this is the fight that they have. The good news is they have capable fighters. The media, the problem is in situations like that with the Medicaid thing that fell out yesterday. The media, of course, controls that. If, they're going to write the story the way it is, and there is no immediate response. You have to be proactive. This is what we talked about. Whether you're promoting a bill or something on the agenda, or in this case, trying to correct the media, you have to be proactive in getting all of that out, because the media is going to write the story. It's going to be full of lies. It's going to be misinformation, as they say, and it's on you to get out there and stomp it out. Because it was did I clear them? I wanted to keep some of them on my phone. Actually, my tons of notifications that came across. Yeah, I cleared them. It was a whole long line.
I had to do that yesterday.
Because and it was, and I thought, well, will learn the truth eventually. And look, I'm confident. In fact, I believe that there will be some miscommunications in the Trump administration with staffers occasionally. But the thing you have to, those are things you have to get under control and keep under control. Those are things you can control. The media is going to do what the media does. And the way around that, the counter to that, is to be as proactive as you can be and put it out there. You know, this is one thing that I think Leavitt is clearly capable of doing. You get out there and stomp it out, because it's going to be, you know, it's going to be the conversation, and it probably will be for a few days. It's like nobody getting benefits is affected. This isn't happening. You got it wrong. By the way, it needs to be said that way. Anybody reporting otherwise got it wrong. Every outlet that reported it wrong needs to correct it. But these are the people that are still doing the Sieg Heil thing, still doing the Hitler thing. They're not only willing to lie, you know, in fact, they believe it's their job to lie.
But are they done with Russia collusion? I haven't heard any Russia collusion lately.
I guess give it a minute. I was waiting for that.
I don't.
You know, I was waiting for the meeting, the official meeting with Putin.
I might have missed it.
Yeah. No, I'm waiting. I thought of that when he was talking about Putin in the first day or two. May have been the first hour or two. Things happened so quickly. But I thought to myself, I'll just wait. Wait until if they're together in the same room, Russia collusion is going to be a part of it.
Okay, yeah, but the problem was, because when I first read what Trump said, I said, okay, he's acting awful friendly, you know, towards, and, you know, talking about and complimenting Russia here, and then said, if you don't stop this war, I'm going to the communication was, if you don't stop this war, we're going to economically destroy you. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. All right,
exactly.
So he was putting out the carrot.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way, but
saying, you keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if that's the approach, then absolutely. I mean, he did the same thing with North Korea the other day, you know, bringing that back up again. Hey, we had a great sit down. Well, look, you're going to take that approach. Trump knows the threats. He knows where the threats are. Biden doesn't know where his office is. Didn't.
Rick sent me this.
All right.
Gary, I've been working with the government for 35 years. I'm just waiting for my email asking me to take the buyout. 8 months of pay plus my benefits, a no-brainer for me.
I thought about that.
So we've got one.
There's one.
We've got one.
No, I thought about, I was going to say when we were talking about this story earlier, I want to see the demographic breakdown, because how many are in the retirement age, you know, or have enough years to qualify for whatever pension, are part of that, would be part of that when all is said and done. I'd love to see the breakdown of it, because if you're at that point and you've been considering retirement and you believe, okay, retirement is a year or so away, well, you get your 8 months pay and you step right up, right?
I found out why it was 8 months.
Why?
That takes us to October 1st, which is the
which
is the end of the budget
the
year.
Fiscal year.
They gave them they're giving them the maximum buyout of 8 months, because you would need another appropriations from Congress, because that money has been appropriated. So it's 8 So it's 8 months to that point. That's why they can say with benefits, because that money's already been appropriated.
It makes sense.
But what Trump wins on that is if he's able to reduce it, because the goal is 10%.
Right.
And not to rehire.
Right.
Well, if you can reduce it by one with just Rick alone, just one.
And by the way, Rick, we hope it's a great deal for you.
Yeah, I would view that as a success, because Rick would be happy.
Yeah.
No, but if you could reduce it 5 to 10%, the workforce, and you get the political win, because there's nobody complaining that we were fired. You took the buyout. voluntarily.
Well,
and Trump can say, we have saved, because the Elon Musk is talking about that's $3 billion a day we could save if we did that, if we get to the goal. He said it's $1 billion right now with no new hires, and it's $3 billion if we cut it. Well, if you cut it and then don't spend it on other things down the road, I mean, that's the problem. That's always been the problem. You cut here but spend double over here.
Right.
It still is going to rely on Congress. Trump cannot do it alone. And right now, it may not be tomorrow, but right today, the Republicans in the House are a mess. If you saw the story yesterday, they're a mess.
Yeah.
And you can't get anything done unless you've got the House.
Yeah. What, a day after the speaker says, oh, and we're going to win even more seats at the midterm. It's like,
and now
then all chaos breaks loose.
Well, there's infighting, and they're at the retreat.
Yeah.
And not everybody went to the retreat. A lot of conservatives didn't. They're like, don't waste our time and our money doing this. We know what Trump wants. We know what needs to be done. Why are we We don't need to spend 3 days at a retreat. And they said Chip Royce said spend $2,000. They got to use their own money to do that?
I don't know. And I had a question about one of the events that was scheduled for that retreat, Coffee with the Rhino. I don't think they should be. It's just me, but
isn't there a Rhino coffee?
There might be.
Is there a Rhino coffee?
Hold on a second.
Is there a Rhino? Is there Rhino something? Is there Rhino coffee?
Oh, we may have to send some things to Capitol Hill. Hold on.
It came up here, Rhino coffee.
Yeah.
Nah, in
white,
yes,
white Rhino.
That's right near me. Yes,
White Rhino coffee. Well,
white. Yes, exactly.
Well, there's
the
also
Republicans.
a Rhino coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's white Rhino coffee right near me.
And
I've passed it, yes.
And there's a Rhino coffee.
There's a
as well. Yeah. Wow.
Can't make this up.
No, you can't.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Trump yesterday signed an executive order protecting children from chemical and surgical gender mutilation, as they should. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, I'm Gary McNamara along with Captain America, Eric Harley over there.
Captain Eric. I took the am and the
I love it earlier when you said Captain Mexico, and one of our listeners disagreed with you on that.
Yeah.
It's like,
nah, they've already got their heroes.
They've got their heroes.
Appreciate that.
I love the things that people respond to at times.
Yeah.
It's like none of the substance, but the fluff. Okay. No, I'm just.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
I don't know.
Let's listen to Governor Tim Walz
as
they're still doing the autopsy of why they lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And this just shows you they don't get it.
They really don't.
They just don't get it. You know, really, Eric, they're in their own little they're in their own little bubble, and they just talk to everybody in their own little bubble, and they don't try to get out. I saw on The View, the I guess in The View they said, well, I guess we don't understand Trump supporters because none of us voted for Trump. Well, I didn't vote for Biden, but I understand exactly where they were coming from.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're in your own little bubble.
Right.
And you refuse to acknowledge basic truths. We know that because you all said Biden was fine, and everybody in the country knew that he wasn't.
Right.
But here's Walz.
All right.
Here we go.
All right.
And you know that overused term, the frog in the boiling water, we've been in the damn pot way too long. I think it is speaking up. It's thinking about your neighbors. It's writing and putting those members of Congress. Look, there is no spine amongst those folks. But this is real. This is, they're talking about defunding the police, things that they, puff their chests up and say they're good with, making the case. And I would let, to the voters, I'm with this too. Everybody's fatigued. Trust me, I get it. It was pure hell, and the disappointment and the frustration. And I'm, soul searching. What could we have done to make the case? Because we knew this was coming. We knew that the implications, and they're throwing so much at us that we're fatigued. We spent 3 days, having them trying to debate that President Musk gave a Nazi salute. Of course he did. But that is a distraction from what I think you said it. This is game on stuff right here. And I am worried with these federal employees because, look, they're in a tough spot. That some of these folks, especially those that are doing good work around environmental concerns, around justice for people, around, criminal justice reform, all of the things that make our society better, those folks are in there. And they're making, they put out tweets from the president's fail son who threatens people, like, we're coming for you. You think this is bad or whatever.
They still don't get it. What they don't get is who they're actually working against and who they're battling. We talked about during the Disney thing with DeSantis that Disney didn't understand you're not going to war with a Republican governor. You're going to war with the parents, in that case, the parents of Florida. And the left has been going to war with the parents for a long time. You hear just now these thoughts conveyed. They want you to believe that they're only at war with the people in office on Capitol Hill and Trump as president. They're at war with the American people. As you said when we previewed that clip, they still don't get why they lost.
Well, when he said, they're throwing distractions, like President Musk and his Nazi salute. Of course it was.
Right.
So he goes right back to, that number one, throwing that's a distraction coming from Republicans.
Right.
No, that came from you.
Exactly.
Democrats brought it up, and then you continue to perpetuate the lie, and then at the same time calling it a distraction. And the way he was talking, he went through, I have no idea what he was talking about with defund the police. I mean, he's just throwing out stuff, not explaining it. That's why you lost.
Right.
You could not coherently complete a sentence, and neither could Harris, and neither could Biden. Nobody could communicate an effective idea that wasn't co-opted from Trump.
Yeah, criminal justice reform, like pardoning your own family. All of them. I mean, he's playing the old school stuff that broke the party, still pretending like it's what people want. Those are the things, the environmental stuff that he mentions. He brings up all of these things nobody's focused on. Everybody's focused on the economy, the broken border, criminals that come across the border, the left going after your children. All of these major items here, and he still doesn't get why they lost.
But
we're doing some soul searching.
But he didn't specifically articulate. He just sort of, it's like a Harris or Biden, but he particular is like scatterbrain. I'm just throwing out little tidbits of stuff, but not fully explaining anything.
And talking real fast.
Right.
And then, as you mentioned, saying, of course it was a Nazi salute. Of course it was.
Right. And saying that we're being, that they're distracting us. There's so much and we're being distracted by the things that they throw out, like President Musk and his Nazi salute. Of course it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't Republicans who brought that to the forefront. It was Democrats.
Right.
You brought it to the forefront.
You guys are making an issue, and you just did again.
Right, and then you claim it shouldn't be an issue, and then you continue with the lie.
Yeah.
And then they don't honestly get why they lost.
Right. They really don't. They don't see it. And they don't believe that they're, again, right now at war with the American people. You are in a strict contrast to what the American people want done. You're working, in fact, in the opposite direction. Let's do everything except for fix the actual problems people are dealing with.
I mean it. I'd still have to keep my brain, but I'd love to have a Vulcan mind meld just to get into their brains to see what's it like to be inside of a brain that believes it is smart but has absolutely no critical thinking skills, whatever, that cannot complete an entire sentence. And this isn't somebody who may be 14 and developing what they believe, and so they're not sure. We're talking about people in their 50s and 60s that cannot articulate a simple message.
Right.
Except I'm a scatterbrain.
And lie after lie after lie.
And lie.
Because what you heard him doing right there was the firing off. He's just his mind's just firing off the old talking points that aren't anywhere close to the issues.
Almost like an eighth of the talking points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1/8 of it. I'm not even going to complete what the full talking point is.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have time for that. I'm just going to throw out a
firing
couple
off,
words. Right.
or misfiring. That's really what you heard there.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if there's going to be any soul searching, Tim, I think you have to have a soul to begin with.
By the way,
you have to believe in something.
There is no one who gave more. If they're all Nazi salutes, there isn't a politician over the last 6 months that gave more Nazi salutes than him.
In fact, he doubled up.
He was doubling up.
He put both hands in the air. Hitler didn't even do that.
His hands were always. He was always giving the Sieg Heil salute.
Double Hitler.
And since they're the party that doesn't support Israel and supports Hamas by their own definition, by using their standards, Tim Walz is the Nazi.
Exactly.
You're making it much too easy for us liberals.
It feels wrong when it's so easy. Sometimes it feels wrong, but sorry. We didn't set the bar. They did.
Not that wrong.
It's like,
it's
it
easy.
really is. It's karate. And the little babies are going to go home crying to their parents. He got the belt and I didn't get the belt.
You're fighting children.
It's exactly what
That's
you're
what
doing.
I think about that.
You're fighting children. And except for in the episode, those kids,
they did gang up on Kramer.
Well,
afterwards.
they did. They were winners. And they also had critical thinking skills. These people don't. They're they're worse than children. Children figure things out. Eventually, children learn. They don't. And when you walk around and all you can do is promote lies to win, what an empty existence. Why would you do that for a living?
We talked about the criticism that came from Trump surrogates to the Trump administration when J.D. Vance wanted to go on Face the Nation. They're like, well, why are you rewarding? It's like, stop being clueless. If you're going to support Trump, at least understand where he's coming from. And now nobody complained afterwards, did they?
No.
Because the entire purpose of a political party or a movement is to bring more people in. That's the whole goal. And so it wasn't a reward. It was going where other people are. Now, you can't expect everyone, but all you need, as we saw in this, all you need to do is flip 20 million people out of 330 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's what changed this election.
Yeah.
You flip 15 to 20 million people. That's it.
Yep.
So it's important that you communicate outside of your own little box.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you send J.D. Vance, because Trump has realized he's better at doing that than I am.
Yeah.
And he's got surrogates that are better in parts, in different topics, better arguing and debating a point than he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting much better debating points, but he has hired people that are as or more effective of debating particular points, and that's exactly what you want to do because you want to broaden your audience.
Yep.
And that's what he's doing. Democrats, they know it. We talked about, the Obama surrogates. We played the audio last week. Democrats are talking about, we got to get out there. We got to get on Fox. We got to get on Joe Rogan. We got to be able to talk for 2 or 3 hours. We have to. They're realizing they're only talking to their own.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And this is because, who was it? Somebody went on Fox and it was criticized. You don't go on Fox.
Yeah.
So they believe that the way to grow their idiocy, because what they believe on the major issues is pure idiocy, is to continue talking among themselves.
Yeah. That audio cut we played earlier when it was Jim Acosta. Well, this isn't Fox, sir. I would have said, it damn sure isn't. You're right about that, Jim.
But that's it. Jim Acosta can only exist in the bubble of the people that won't confront him in his lies.
Well, that's all they've ever been.
Right.
That's all they've ever been. It's why Keith Olbermann had to read everything he said.
Where is Olbermann?
His mom's basement.
You heard from him lately?
No.
I haven't heard a word from him.
No. He's probably cleaning his room.
He's seething in anger. It's just like he just...
The resistance! Okay, Keith.
You know what I think it's got to be like, for them, especially like the last year. The only way I can put it, and by the way, thank you for the Buffalo Bills fans that appreciated that I said the only thing worse right now than being a Buffalo Bills fan is being a liberal Buffalo Bills fan.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like the losing never stops.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm a Bills fan. But it's almost as if you're dealing, if you're a Bills fan like I am, dealing with that loss, the 24 hours, day in and day out, every single day, and it never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Olbermann must be going through, because he's constantly just enraged and seeing Trump this last week and then being enraged as he was last year, seeing everything going on. It's got to be every single day, like being a Bills fan 24 hours after the loss.
I want to do MAGACon, right? I think we should do a big convention, MAGACon. And I would have a panel there. I'd have Mark Pincus, Lindy Lee, and Michael Rappaport on that panel. And let's talk. Let's have a great conversation about where you were, where you are now, where that moment was. I mean, Mark Pincus wrote about it. It was
wait.
like Rappaport. It was the Charlottesville line.
No, you know what I want? Mark Pincus, the billionaire, the tech billionaire. You get Lindy Lee, Michael Rappaport.
Barry Weiss is the moderator. But then on the other side,
put a Bill Kristol there. See who can see what people put the Never Trumpers there against the Democrats who have completely rejected, and by the way, articulated much better than any Never Trumper has, why they have gone to the other side.
Right.
That's what I'd love to see.
Right. Well, and that's, I'm sure Bill Kristol would accept, but I'd love to see that. But when you go back through the timeline, like Lindy Lee, like I said, I would love to go back in time when she was deep in the heat of the campaign season. And then right about the point, let's say a week after Kamala Harris was anointed, and ask her, hey, how's it going? Any issues? I would just love to, I want to walk through that transition with them as they're all of a sudden waking up, because Lindy Lee, after the election and now clearly is thinking differently. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, it's interesting because you brought up, that would be really fascinating because you brought up a Hollywood actor, you brought up a tech billionaire, and you brought up
a major
somebody
fundraiser
who was a mega donor fundraiser for the Democrats. That covers everything.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Crowley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know what I've noticed the last couple of days, and this is a good thing?
Yeah.
Liberals are slowly coming back, at least on my feed, and these aren't people that follow me. So it means randomly more showing up. You ready for this one?
Okay, what do you got?
A guy by the name of Jeff Storabinski. Don't give in to the lies. As today marks Jim Acosta's final day with CNN after 18 years, I speak on behalf of millions and millions of people here in the U.S. Well, you're talking Jim Acosta and CNN. Might be dozens and dozens.
Yeah.
And worldwide, who thank you for being among the very, very best in the business and setting the gold standard of journalism.
Yeah.
It's been my honor to post your clips for the last couple of years. Godspeed in your next venture, as we'll all be waiting and watching. Walter Cronkite is looking down, smiling and proud of you. Well done. And then below it, who can reply? Accounts that he follows or mention can reply. So all the responses are the best journalist out there, Jim Acosta.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is going to be fun, but they have to censor, don't they?
Yep, they do.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Crowley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Hi.
Hello.
Other news out there. This is Wall Street Journal editorial page. Union membership falls to single digits.
Oh?
After years of slippage, union members made up only 9.9% of the U.S. workforce in 2024, down a tick from a year earlier, putting them in single digits for the first time on record. As the GOP tries to refashion itself into a party of workers, the numbers suggest that the way to do it isn't by pandering to union bosses, like the labor secretary that Trump picked. Sorry, I don't care if you're the biggest Trump fan out there. That pick sucks.
Yeah.
Absolutely sucks. What the hell was he thinking? Unless, as some people have put it, well, he wanted to, give a shout out or pay back to the unions.
You don't owe anything to the unions.
The last
grow the economy. That'll be a payback.
Worst decision Trump has made so far. The labor secretary pick. I figured he would have pulled her by now. She believes that unions should be in every sector of every level of government.
Yeah, right.
Trump, you can't. You notice he never talks about her.
Right, yeah.
Nobody's defending her at all.
No.
Why is she there? But in the private economy, the unionization rate fell. The private sector unionization rate fell to 5.9%. For government workers, it dipped. Listen to this. For government workers, it dipped to 32.2% from 32.5%. Those year-to-year changes are small, but that's how erosion works. 20 years ago, 7.9% of private workers belonged to unions, and for public workers, it was 36.4%. Well, you know what happens in government, especially if you get into state governments that are union, is they become too expensive. They can't borrow money.
Right.
They can't borrow money like the federal government. They end up throwing it out to subcontractors and privatizing it.
Yep.
We saw that in city governments.
Actually, it's happened in my city. Happened years ago.
Yep. It's hard to tease out all the factors driving this trend, but one is probably migration to and employment growth in the Sun Belt and right-to-work states. The Supreme Court 2018 ruling in Janus held that public workers who refuse to join a union cannot be forced to pay fair share fees, providing an additional economic incentive to opt out. Though there was no huge jolt in that trend line, it's still worth keeping the hard figures in mind, since union membership drives inevitably makes splashy headlines when they target brands such as Starbucks for all that organizing activity, not to mention President Biden's 4 years of being the most pro-union president in history. The shrinking of big labor has not stopped. The pressure has prompted unions to fish for recruits on college campuses to the point that some sources say a quarter of the membership of the United Auto Workers is higher in education. Perhaps this explains why the modern UAW is issuing statements calling for a ceasefire in Israel and Palestine. None of this makes it sound like a good bet for Republicans to bank their future on converting shrinking unions to the cause of conservative policy. President Trump feels that he owes labor leaders something, especially after the Teamsters last year declined to endorse President Biden. But the best way to win over voters is by pursuing good tax policy and deregulation that will speed up the dynamo of the U.S. economy, raising wages for everybody. If Republican leaders pander to union leaders, as Mr. Trump did with his port intervention on behalf of the International Longshoremen's Association, another wrong thing that Trump has done, by the way, they will be pitching a select few instead of talking to the public writ at large. The reality is that out of every 100 workers in the private sector, only 6 are members of union. Being a party of workers isn't the same as being a party enthralled to unions, and the Democrats are doing the latter already. So there it is. I just wanted to read that. But, yeah, his labor secretary pick, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
What the hell was he thinking?
Yeah, you know, what's interesting is the thought process behind the unions is antiquated. You know, I know why if you belong to a union, you support unions. You want that job, you want those benefits, you want the pay, you want everything to remain the same. But the mindset, if generation after generation, it gets back to, well, there is no guaranteed protection. There is no, I got to get out and I got to earn it. I saw something yesterday, and I've been seeing more and more articles, and it is, you know what? There are a significant number. There's a significant number of young people, I'd say between 18 and 24, that understand meritocracy. They understand that you've got to get in and you've got to earn it. You've got to show up every day. I'm not saying all of them do it. But you're going to have to get in and you're going to have to set your own pay. I think a lot of people also look at it, and it could be that they have maybe their expectations are too high. Hey, I can make more money than the union can get me. I don't know if that is the case, but I know some people think that way because they think, well, I see an influencer making $1 million a day. Well, I can make $1 million a month. It may not be realistic, but it fully dismisses the union model. The union model, I think, has been outdated for a long, long time, and I think generationally, as we go on and on and on, that is going to be the case. And also, there's a greater entrepreneurial spirit, and it probably has to do with influencers.
Well, the union leadership knows it. That's why they're focusing on government.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're focusing on education.
That's where in recent years, that's where the only growth has been.
And that's why, it's ridiculous for the unions to focus on fast food.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. People don't stay in those jobs.
Right.
That's just, and it shows you the desperation of the union leadership.
Mm.
But for those who say, well, you're anti-union because you're against, it's Lori Chavez de Remmer, Trump's labor secretary pick.
Mm-hmm.
She has talked about being for unions in every level of government. And then you don't know union history.
Right.
If you look at FDR, if you look at the George Meany, the late union leader, absolutely against unions in the public sector. I mean government sector. Completely against it. Why? Because the goal of unions was to share the profits of companies. There are no profits in government.
Right.
None.
Right. Unless you're a Biden.
Well, yeah. Technically, that's outside of government, though.
It's because of government service.
Yeah, it's because of government service. But for Trump to pick her, and I don't think Kennedy was a great choice either. But no. She's the absolute worst that he could pick. Rand Paul said he's going to vote against her. He believes that she will lose at least 15 Republicans but get 25 Democrats.
Wow.
And every Republican, every conservative should be against her appointment.
Yeah.
Everyone. Trump blew it on this one. He should have pulled her already. It's bad. She doesn't share any of his values when it comes to labor.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that, look, he knows the growth has to come in the private sector. That growth is stagnated when unions step in and block it. And again, we'll see what where the votes pan out and what's going to be done if she does get confirmed. But it doesn't work with your agenda. And you owe the unions nothing. You owe them nothing. They should be thanking you, somebody who comes in who is pro-growth.
Well, when you look at unions going down under the most pro-union president, as they called Biden.
Yeah.
Unions, as we told you, your leadership is idiots. You're actually better off with Republicans because you have a better chance if companies are booming of unionizing.
Right.
You have no chance. Remember, Biden didn't give a damn about union workers. He got rid of the Keystone Pipeline like that, costing tens of thousands of union workers jobs.
Yep.
He didn't give a damn.
Nope.
And so you got a better chance with Republicans who say, we want to boom the economy, instead of Democrats that say anything that has to do with putting carbon into the atmosphere has to go. Well, that's industry.
Yeah.
They're trying to kill all your jobs.
Right.
You see what they're doing in the automobile industry. The unions UAW finally woke up a little bit. Oh, I guess the fact that our leadership has been supporting the government in subsidizing our companies to produce a product that can't make a damn profit might be a bad idea.
Yeah. You think?
And then finally they can, I guess that is a bad idea. I mean, it's just, you just shake your head going, what? Unions, and we've been telling this to unions, for over a decade. You're better off with Republicans. Democrats don't care. They wish to destroy the industries that you're in.
Well, the number one word in profit sharing is profit. I mean, you have to go back a ways, but at the UAW back then, Gettelfinger finally came around and said, well, yeah, look, we need these companies to be profitable. So there were concessions, as there always are. You've got to be in pro-profit mode if you're pro-union.
Well, when the union,
unless you're union leadership.
When the union leadership was asking for subsidies for unions because government was giving subsidies for the company.
Right.
And so the unions were down to the point of, we need subsidies in order to make products that the government wants us to make, that the company's getting subsidies for, and they still can't make a profit. And so they're closing us down and we're losing jobs. Well, you need to give us subsidies to produce products that aren't selling, and even if they do, can't make a profit.
Right.
You know you're in trouble when that's the argument that union leadership is making.
Well, I thought to myself, I think I even mentioned it. Are they trying to go become public unions, government unions? Because eventually it would require to be fully funded if you keep going in this direction by the government. But the fact is, they know that. By the way, when they were talking about that, they fully understand. So you know that it's not working. The business model isn't working. The only growth for unions has been in recent years in the government sector.
From the negotiating standpoint, you're always in a better negotiating. I can't believe I'm saying this because it's so simple.
Right.
This is Labor 101.
Right.
You're always in a better negotiation standpoint if the company is making record, I'll use the quote, obscene, end of quote, profits.
I haven't heard that in a while. These obscene profits. Wow. Really?
I must say, I've seen obscenity and I've seen profits in my life, and they don't relate to each other in my.
I've screamed some obscenities. Never in relation to making profits, though.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. After our show is over, which would be 5 a.m. Central Time and 6 a.m. Eastern Time, and you can figure out the rest of the time zones there, our show becomes our podcast.
Yeah, if you're on the West Coast, you're on your own. You do your own math.
Yeah,
quit making this about you.
We record the show, and it becomes our podcast on our app. And if you can't listen to one of our great radio stations while the show is live on the app, we also stream live.
That's right. All 5 hours streamed live every night.
Yep. Coming up following the top of the hour, Caroline Leavitt's first White House briefing.
Wow.
Yesterday, and her introduction we'll have.
Well, and the contrast.
Oh,
my gosh.
Jeez.
Somebody's got to put a side-by-side video together, back to back.
I think Molly Hemingway said in the first 5 minutes, there were more adversarial questions to her than there were during the entire Biden administration.
Yes. Yes.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.